Hi, are you trying to sell to companies? Most likely, you'll notice that you're not selling to just one person. Lots of times there are different people getting involved into buying from you. Even if you're selling to big clients that does not belong within a company, sometimes you need to talk to the husband, the wife, the other parties. So let's talk about the parties of all the people making the decisions. And how do you handle that? How do you speak with them differently? And what do you say to different parties? Hi. For those people who do not know me, my name is Melinda Chen. I am the founder of Women Making Big Sales. We are here to show entrepreneurs how to sell to companies or big clients, the kind of clients that can give you 5, 6, 7 figure in sales, really dramatically change your business. And most importantly, they are going to be able to work with you long term to give you business year over year so that hopefully one day you don't have to focus on selling anymore. You can focus on doing what you love to do, your job, and work with the best people in the industry and be proud to say, hey, I work with so and so. And that is what we're here to help you do that. We're going to break down everything in sales, make it simple, and to tell you exactly what it is so that you've got all the tools, the knowledge to go out and make big sales. So today, let's talk about all different people that are involved into making that sales go through. And this is especially true when you're trying to sell to companies. You know that, hey, for example, if you are a marketing consultant and you're trying to sell to a large company and try to get into their business, business, you know that it could be another marketing manager you're speaking with, director of marketing, even PR people, even HR. Potentially you're working with HR managers. You could also be talking directly to the executives or to the founder of a company. So how do you juggle through all these things and making sure that you're speaking the right language to different parties? Today, I'm going to simplify the scenario, but most of the scenarios I've seen, they fit most of the business or sales I'm trying to they fit into similar scenarios. So I'm going to break it down. Sometimes there could be a little bit of variance, but I don't think it's really different from what I'm about to talk about. If you have questions, feel free to send me an email, send me a message, and I'd be very happy to clarify some information. Or maybe if you're trying to get into a specific deal, you've got a pending deal, you've got this prospect, and you think it's got huge potential, and you just need somebody to just pick somebody's brain. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be very happy to talk about sales with you. So, about selling to companies. The first person you are likely to meet would be the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper is a person who's going to decide whether you are going to, whether they're going to forward this information to the next party. And who are the gatekeepers? I've been selling for 16 years. And when I started selling, a lot of the gatekeepers were the receptionist or the administrative assistant. And I've noticed that things are not the same anymore these days. A lot of times, hey, people are traveling everywhere, and you're trying to reach somebody through LinkedIn, email, rarely phone call, but sometimes you still try, or social selling. So you don't really go through the gatekeeper, the receptionist or administrative assistant as gatekeeper. But that doesn't mean that you don't have gatekeepers. A lot of times you still have people that are there and try to decide whether your information is worth, forwarding to somebody higher up, the real decision makers. The gatekeeper could actually be the people who work around your final decision makers. It could be a manager. For example, the final decision maker could be the owner, but the gatekeeper could just simply be the manager who could be working with you, assistant or marketing assistant, somebody who's within that department's assistant. So the job, her role is her or his role a little bit lower, and they sometimes act as gatekeeper, whether to forward the information to upper level. And it could also be consultants. outside consultants. A lot of times when you're trying to get into a business deal, some of the companies, they work with outside consultants. And these outside consultants might act as gatekeepers. They could be HR people. They could be people who are doing similar things as you do, and they're trying to be the gatekeeper. They don't necessarily work for the company, but the company say, hey, talk to this person, and this person is very familiar with the project. And when it comes to talking to gatekeeper, how do you bypass it? And a lot of people, the old traditional way of trying to bypass the gatekeeper is to charm them and or kind of like trick them to saying yes to forward your information to somebody else. But right now, these days, things are very different now. And what I find the most useful is to be very genuine in terms of why you're there and what you're there for. You are there to provide your service, to offer the opportunities to work with you, to present what you are able to do for this prospective client, to talk about, the benefits to working with you. Be genuine in terms of what you're trying to do. And also, gatekeeper could be a great person for feedback. Let's face it, if the gatekeeper is not sold, it's very hard for you to actually sell to the big guy up there, the final decision maker. So don't worry about, or don't be nervous when you speak with gatekeepers. Be genuine with who you are and authentic, saying that I am here to discuss the opportunities of us working with each other. But most importantly, try to get information from the gatekeeper. I wanted to know whether my service could be of value to you guys. What's going on with you guys? I've noticed that, hey, you guys haven't been doing lots of marketing activities these days, and that's why I'm calling. What's going on? Are you guys struggling to find somebody, or are you guys struggling to find somebody who's good? What's going on? So the gatekeeper could be a great way to actually get information. And information is so important because you want to really know what's going on with them. Do they have the pain? Did they really have the pain? Because if they don't, if they already filled that position, it'll save you a lot of time, and don't waste your time chasing after somebody who's never going to buy from you, right? And what are they looking for? What kind of candidates are they looking for? And that could be a very useful information, because you could use that information to put in your emails when you're trying to sell to the final decision maker. So be genuine with the gatekeeper, regardless of who they are. And usually you'll be able to sense that they are the gatekeeper by their response to you. They kind of always want to know exactly what you do. And they usually don't have a real decision-making power within that organization. And the second kind of person you will be encountering is the user, the kind of person who will actually be working with you. So, for example, back to what we talked about, if you're a marketing manager, most likely you'll be working with somebody for example, if you were a marketing consultant, then you might be working with a marketing manager, and or marketing assistant, social media manager, people who might be working with you day to day. But most of the times, these people do not have the final decision-making power. This is not always true. It depends on the size of the company. If you're trying to sell to a pretty big company, like a big size company, then you better know you probably, the chances are that the people you will be working with day to day might not be the people who make the final decision making. But if you're working with somebody who's a little bit the organization that's a little bit flat, and your service is a little bit more one-on-one, then you might be talking to the user who's also making the decision. For example, if you're a coach and you're coaching just the CEO, then most likely the user would be the one who makes the decision. But if you're a coach and that's coaching, the other executives, for example, the VPs or directors, and you're trying to, increase their leadership level, you might still be speaking with the the founder, the CEO, who makes the final decision, but the user or the people who will be working with you would be the executives or the VPs. And that is the difference. So it depends on the size of the company and the service you provide. But the users would be great in terms of giving you feedback. Obviously, because they work with you, their feedback is extremely powerful. Whether they like your stuff or not, that would be the feedback they would give to the decision making, the final decision maker. So be very careful. And when you talk to them, focus on the service itself, what you offer, and talk to them about the process to working with them, the communication, what it is like to working with you, making sure that they don't feel threatened by your existence. And that's a lot of times, they might feel threatened, and making sure that, they feel comfortable working with you. And it's also a great place to get feedback in terms of, what they're looking for and the service they're looking for. And a lot of times, the user and the gatekeeper might be the same people. They might be the one who's, gonna work with you day to day, and they'll also be the one deciding whether your message is gonna come through. So always be there to ask more questions. And I think a lot of us, we really want to make that sale, and we forget to ask more questions and get more information. And that's so important. That could be a missed opportunities, because if we have more information, that means that we're more likely to, or it's easier to tailor our message to what they are looking for exactly. And then, obviously there is, as we go up to the organization level, there is the final decision maker, the person who is going to make the decision. And most likely it could be the founder of the company, or if you're trying to sell to larger corporations, it could be just director or department head. It depends on the size of the company you're trying to sell to. But in terms of message where you're selling to the decision maker, focus on the big pictures. These people are not going to be working with you day to day, but they want to, and it's very powerful when they know that you know where this company is going. You see the big picture. You understand the industry. You understand what they're going against. You know their competitors. You know the business challenge they're looking for. And because the final decision makers, especially if they're really up in their organization, they're usually big picture thinker. And they want you to see that their supplier, their service provider really understand that big picture. So if you're working with a decision maker, make sure the language is about the business side, the overall business, and your service, how your service fit into the overall business. And that would be the decision maker. And also recognize the fact that the decision maker will also get the information, the feedback from the user or the gatekeeper. So if you kept a good relationship with the gatekeeper or the user, then it's a lot easier to convince the gatekeeper, the decision maker, the final decision maker, because the person usually value the feedback of the people, actually, the user. And the last thing is something that a lot of people overlook, but it's so important. It's the skeptics, the people who are going to object to your service, to your deal, to your sales. You might be thinking, what do you mean? Because when you're trying to sell to a big company, a lot of times, they're allocating budgets. When they work with you, that means that they've allocated certain budget to you, and that means that they're taking the budget away from other people. And the budget allocation, it's a really important mindset, because that means that somebody is going to say that, hey, you know what, are you sure it's the best decision to invest our money on this specific thing? And it happens a lot, and most of the sales I know and I worked on, there is always somebody objecting to the sales. And it's so important to make sure that we acknowledge it, because a lot of times, when we're trying to sell to companies, we prefer to speaking with people who love us, who believe our product's amazing or our service amazing, who believe that the company should work with us. But it doesn't always work that way because there are people who would say that, hey, it's not the best use of our budget. And it's so important to identify these people and address their concerns, because if you are able to win them over, that means that, hey, 80% of your sales is probably done. So when you're speaking with the user or the gatekeeper, even with the final decision maker, make sure to kind of try to sense who might be objecting to your sales. And instead of having them talking behind their door, having the user, decision maker, and the skeptics talking among themselves, it's a lot better if you address all the concerns. If you show the initiative and say that, hey, I would be very happy to speak with this person and to answer any questions they might have. So, and how do you identify these people? A lot of times these people, if you look at the organizational chart, so basically, how the company is organized, and, at the top, usually you have the CEO, the founder, and you go down the directors and different directors, and then VPs, and then managers, and depending on the size. So if you're trying to identify the people who might not want your deal to go through, assuming that, for example, we talked about marketing. If you're a marketing consultant, then you look at people who are parallel to what you're selling. So people, other department heads. If you are selling to marketing, so that means that other aspects of business, it could be sales, it could be operation, it could be accounting, it could be PR, and these are other people who are, basically the parallel, different department heads. And it's very possible that those people might be the people that object to your sales. And, ask for it. Ask them their question, especially when you're talking to the gatekeeper or the user, and then just say, I really see the opportunity of me providing great value. But do you think, whether there's anybody who might not think the same way? Should I be addressing their concerns and, make this communication a lot faster, a lot better? And ask them and be proactive and to solicit feedback from the people who are going to object to your sales. Because a lot of times the last thing we want is that, we present something, the meeting went well, and we think, hey, we're going to close this sales and this deal. And then they say, great, we'll talk about it. And 2 days later, the person, maybe the manager or the director just call back or a simple email and say, we thought about it, but it's really not the best timing. Maybe we'll do it next time. And you don't, and not knowing exactly what happened behind the door, not knowing that maybe there's somebody else convinced them to not, go ahead with this business opportunities. So you want to address that. You want to make sure that you know what's going on with everybody who's involved, that could be involved in making the decision to working with you. I hope this is useful. When you're speaking with the company, we're trying to get this done. Think about it. Think of their different roles and speak different language. Speak the language they can understand, and it's going to help you close your sales a lot easier. If you have any questions, you can always contact me and send me a message or email. And don't forget, if you're watching this on YouTube, like our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on Facebook, continue to follow us and also sign up to our email list so that you don't miss any tips to selling to companies. To your big sales. Talk to you next time.